Hi, everyone. This is Rev Rhonda with Rhonda's Reiki Realm Podcast, and I have a special guest with me here today. If you would like to be a guest, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to have you on the show. So I'm going to let my guest introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Mike, Seafood Mike, Michael Fuchs.
And how did you get started? How did your Reiki journey start?
Well, listen, first of all, thank you, Reverend Rhonda, for having me here. It's a great pleasure and an honor. I first heard of Reiki, it was in the mid 90s. I saw a book by the Reiki pioneer, Barbara Weber Ray, who was one of Mrs. Takata's top Reiki masters. And I had been involved previously for 10 years full time in Tai Chi and Qigong and meditation and all sorts of things like that. Teaching, learning, studying, and really my whole life. My parents were artists, and my mother had books on Asian philosophy and art philosophy. And I was one of these book a day club kids from I was reading before kindergarten. And then back then in the 60s and early 70s, Asian culture was becoming more on TV and movies. So long story short, I always had an interest and began formal training in Tai Chi and martial arts and yoga and really the whole ball of wax when I was around age 20. And then again, a few years after this, in the mid 90s, I saw this book and I was quite intrigued by it. And then what happened is I was actually, I have to say, I was highly skeptical because in my knowledge at the time, to learn to use healing energy, you needed really like very advanced training and maybe be like a monk and live in a temple. And whereas with Reiki, as we know, it's a gift that's essentially reawakened, and we all have this gift within us. And so I was somewhat skeptical to say the least, but I was open minded enough to know that, look, I don't know everything. There's so much to learn. And I attended this was when complementary medicine was new or really starting to gain some steam. And there was a small hospital near me that had a healing arts day, integrative healing arts. They had food, they had music. I was new in the area. They had Reiki sessions, and I figured, well, I'll go and meet some people, and I'll try this Reiki stuff out. And I had a session, 30 minutes, which was there were six Reiki teachers, Reiki masters in this conference room. They'd been there for hours. I could feel because I had been doing qigong and other types of energy work. I could feel like something really powerful is going on in here. I started to actually get warm before I even went in the room. I laid down and had a 30-minute session. I got up and had to sit down for an hour.
Wow.
It was so powerful, right? And I immediately I didn't go. I was going in there being skeptical. I left that driving home. I didn't need any. I was in my late 20s. I was in great condition. I was drinking like 20 cups of black coffee a day. I don't drink any coffee now. I drink some green tea. I'm 63. I did not need all this coffee. It was just a bad habit. I was just drinking one after another like a habit. So, and I knew it was not good for me. And I dropped it on the spot and had no withdrawal symptoms after this one
Wow.
Reiki session. Yeah, it was very amazing. So that was my introduction to Reiki and how I came to it.
My story seems to be the only story that is completely different than everybody else's, but that's
Okay.
okay because I feel like Reiki is even though it's so universal and it helps everybody, I also feel like it's a unique journey for yourself
Oh,
as well
absolutely.
as helping people.
Well, absolutely, and that's how I embrace this. Is I got it. I had a very challenging upbringing, and so I've been on a healing path for myself, really my whole life. And along the way, I began sharing that with others and assisting others. But right, it was about my own healing journey, is how I approached it. Another tool, something new, and it's so wonderful that after a year of training and taking classes, I began teaching Reiki myself. And but yes, exactly, it's a journey, and I think that's originally in Asia, of course, as the word Tao, or in Japan more like Do, right? But that's really to me. I agree with you. It's a journey. It's a path, and we each have our own path. But with Reiki, we're all as Reiki people, we're all sharing it too. So
Yeah. I use my Reiki. I'm a paranormal investigator, so I use my
Uh-huh.
Reiki integrated with my paranormal workings.
Fascinating. I'd love to hear more about that. The thing with Reiki is right. There's so many different ways that each person, some people might just learn the basics of Reiki and practice on themselves and their friends, and that's wonderful. Other people begin integrating it with things they do, as you just described. I have myself with all of the arts that I do. It's enhanced my Tai Chi and my Chu, and vice versa. Um, but yeah, in fact, I know a lady that does very similar. She's a shaman and she works. Geez, I forget what she calls it, but she's someone that if there's spirits that are not say friendly, she's one of these people that can go and do rituals to
Yeah,
to essentially let them know that they need to move on. They're in the wrong place.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's just so Reiki is so like flexible and adaptable, and it works with our creativity, and can
Yes.
it actually can lead us on to finding a path and different ways of applying it. So that's quite fascinating and good for you.
I had a friend that dubbed me as the paranormal bouncer because
The
what your friend does is exactly what I do.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, listen, there's people. I also have a teacher. He's from Burma, and he does spirit world work. And most of us in our lives, we're not thinking about the spirit world. We have to do the dishes and go to work, and we have our family and our children, and there's all these things going on that draw us away from that sensitivity, I think. But I know because I've had experiences. I don't do that work myself, but I've had many experiences of going beyond space and time the way that we normally experience it, and having spiritual beings and other advanced humans communicate to me, not verbally, and to someone who's not, it may sound crazy, but my feet are on the ground. I don't take any, I'm not under any psychiatric care. There's a whole world beyond what we normally see. That's way like a tree. The roots of the tree are much larger than the tree. So what we normally think of as reality, there's just so much more to it. That's why it's important that we're all humble, and as Reiki practitioners and teachers, that we be humble, because there's just so much more, and it's a path as we talked about, and it's endless. So yeah.
My favorite thing, what made me instantly know I was in the right place to learn Reiki was the very first thing she taught us is that it has nothing to do with your ego. So you
Right.
need to check your ego at the door. And I knew I was
Exactly.
at the right place at the right time.
Well, listen, it's good that your teacher was that way, because that's exactly it. Our ego gets in the way. It's a big block,
Mhm.
because the Reiki is going to look at the ego as something within us that needs to be healed. So if we can truly come from a place of, thy will be done, not mine, however words a person might have that, then more of it's going to flow through us to help others. So if that's our intention, is to be helpful in the world, well, this ego is a big block. And right, I mean, one of my Reiki teachers, again, this gentleman from Burma, Dr. Mung Ji, he lived in temples in Burma and was trained in the lineages through his family. He was about 76 when I first met him. He's very famous in the Western world, but he would almost yell at us, there can be no I, me, or mine in the context of Reiki healing. He would really like drill that into us. And it's really so important for our own healing and for working with others. I
Yeah.
don't even like this term Reiki master, other than in certain types of marketing and whatnot. I mean, I'm a student. I don't look at I've mastered Reiki. If I ever achieve the status of Lord Buddha or Jesus Christ or something, I mean, I'm not going to be calling myself that, but maybe then someone. But I'm a skilled instructor and teacher and practitioner, but I personally don't always like that term, because again, it just kind of throws fertilizer on that ego.
Mhm.
So
The only time I use the word I is that I am blessed enough to have the opportunity to be there to be the vessel to help somebody. And that's how I word it.
absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you. I similarly, like I said, when I work with Reiki, I use a healing invocation, and part of it is for the highest good of all, thy will be done, not mine. So, which gets me into that place if I'm
Right.
not already there.
So so once you went beyond that first session,
Mhm.
where did you go from there?
Okay, well, what I did is I contacted the people that did the Reiki for the hospital. I figured, okay, they were nice people. Let me I was interested at the point to learn, so I contacted them on what to do. They were in the lineage of John Harvey Gray, who was another one of Mrs. Takada's um, senior teachers. He was the first Reiki master in New England. So many of the Reiki people, this is again back in mid 90s, right when Reiki was starting to become more well known. So most of the Reiki people around here had learned from him or students of his. So so I contacted those people and set up a class, and it turned out again that the head teacher, there was two teachers. One was co-teaching. The head teacher was from the John Harvey Gray lineage and had learned from Libby Barnett and Maggie Chambers, who wrote that wonderful book Reiki Energy Medicine. They were nurses, and so they were involved in integrating Reiki with hospitals and medicine. Um, and it was a wonderful class. In fact, it was supremely very powerful. They suggested that you fast for 3 days, so I followed. Actually took a week off. 3 days I fasted, no food, just water to cleanse myself, and did extra meditation and all this, and had a very powerful class, including visions and messages. Um, which I'm still integrating because it came out of nowhere. It was very something else. It was all positive, but it was really something. I talk about that a bit in my books on Reiki. This is one of them. There's the other.
Hold those up so people can see them.
Oh yeah, yeah. These are from Lotus Press, which is a well-known publisher. It was one book, but it was too long, so I broke it into two. The Seven Jewels they're textbooks for people in any Reiki style. The first one is kind of an introduction and overview of Usui Reiki Ryoho. And then this one is like the textbook. I teach my own Reiki system now. I learned many different Reiki styles, and I was again involved in Qigong and meditation and other things with a very wonderful teacher that had great programs. So I wrote these as aids for my own system, outlining what I do, and then for anyone that might want to practice, there's many diagrams which kind of outline everything. But so these are from Lotus Press, and you can see them on Amazon and my website. It's shaolinbutterfly.com. One word, shaolinbutterfly.com. So yeah, so I set up the training with these people. It was a wonderful training, and I had great. Then they suggested, okay, Reiki on yourself every day for at least 21 days, which I did. And it was very subtle. I knew something was happening. After about a week of that, I could definitely start to feel it affected me very subtly at that time. Now, then I did the second level. I did that with a different teacher. I again love those teachers, but I was like, look, I'm new in this world. Let me look around and see what else. So a wonderful teacher I found, her name is Suzanne Grasso. She is the former governor of Connecticut, Ella Grasso's daughter. Ella Grasso was the first female governor of the United States. When I was a kid, she was the governor, and my mother loved her. But her daughter, apparently they had some healing traditions they brought from Poland when they moved here. So she knew about herbs and things like this. And Suzanne, her daughter, was very different from birth. She's very highly clairvoyant. As growing up, this caused her to have problems in society because they told her she wasn't seeing what she was seeing and hearing what she was seeing. She died twice on the operating table and came back with messages. Mm-hmm. So she learned eventually to deal with all that. So she was very advanced because she had these gifts on top of all of the Reiki and the other things she did. Mm-hmm. So I then did all the rest of my Reiki training with her, including the teacher training. And again, I went on because I was used to teach and live at my school for like 10 hours a day in West Hartford, Connecticut. So many of my students did Reiki, and they learned different types of Reiki. So we all just I learned so many different styles because I had all these people around me. And that's what gave birth eventually to what I call butterfly Reiki system. So in a synopsis version, that's what happened to me after my first Reiki session.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's been quite
awesome.
a journey, I have to say. Healing, as you know, it's not always like chocolate and roses and a nice glass of champagne. If you really want to get over certain things in life, I mean, you may be tested, and it's not always easy. As a
Yeah.
female, I would say, like giving birth, having a child, this is a wonderful thing, but giving birth is not necessarily the most enjoyable experience. As a man, I'm not going to have that experience, not in this life. But we're giving birth to ourselves, is what it is. That's one reason I chose the butterfly as a symbol, because it's transformation. And if you anyone that's ever seen a moth that's in the cocoon, and they have to fight their way out of that, it's not so easy, and they're like a mess afterwards. They got gooey stuff all over them. So that's how my healing process has been. It hasn't always been easy, but it's led me to many wonderful things. And the person I am now is not who I was in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I have to say, well, I don't want to say, I was going to say I'm not really afraid of anything, but I don't want to call something
Yeah.
wickedly negative into my life. But I'm fairly fearless now, and I'm very confident. I wasn't this way before. I couldn't speak publicly. I was a big reader, and certainly in school I'd answer questions and whatnot. But as far as like socially, I wasn't like a social butterfly. Now I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've actually talked about recently how I used to run a paranormal team, and I
Uh-huh.
used to be in charge of all the events, and I used to be the one that would do our presentations. And I don't miss running the team, but I really do miss doing the paranormal presentation. So I think next year I'm going to look into doing those again because I really
Okay,
did
cool.
enjoy them.
Well, for people that have that calling and that gift, it's definitely needed. I mean, in human history, there's always been, shamans and spirit healers and people that do this sort of work. Reiki is kind of like it's we're doing spirit work because Reiki's coming from, heaven or the higher realm, whatever you want to call this, and it's a gift we all have. It's just some people again will have that as like you could say like their major or their concentration for whatever reason, for karma and training and whatever reason. Again, my friend that does this, her name is Karen Cote. She's a redheaded, blue-eyed, freckled Irish American that's adopted into Native American tribes, and she's a shaman for them. That's how she's always been this way. And in fact, the one of the shamans for the tribe here in Connecticut was having visions of her decades before they met. And one day they were at a Native American, some sort of big event. She was doing what she does there, and they looked at each other and they said, "Oh, that's you," which is very amazing. But again, this spirit world phenomenon, it's definitely for real. I mean, anyone, maybe not everyone wants to admit or has the sensitivity, but again, what we see and what's around us, that's a little part of, as humans, our senses, our normal senses, like for instance, sunlight. There's so many visible spectrums we don't see, but other animals will see. You know, sound that we don't hear, but the animals will hear.
Right.
And there's much
Absolutely.
more energies that we're just not in tune with generally. Some people are more than others. So
Did you share your website?
my website is shaolinbutterfly.com.
Okay.
So SHAOLIN butterfly.com. Now, Shaolin, for those who don't know, it's a word that more people have heard now, but growing up, there used to be the old Kung Fu show with David Carradine and the Shaolin Temple. Well, it's a World Cultural Heritage Site in China. That's where Zen Buddhism was first taught. That's what it's really mostly famous for. Now, the monks there also, as part of their physical practices to be healthy and to protect themselves, they practice martial arts isn't the right word because it wasn't military, but they had methods of protecting themselves. But they were spiritual people. They would never want to hurt anyone, but they had a need. There was no police force. No one was going to protect. And it was also part of their path to enlightenment to perfect themselves physically, almost like a yoga. In fact, in yoga, there's postures like the warrior posture and, you know, So there's a crossover between the healing arts and, again, martial arts isn't quite the right word. The Chinese words don't always mean martial. Um, some do, some don't. You know, if you were in the military, well, that was martial arts. If you were in a temple, it had a different name. So that's Shaolin, and so it's famous now all over the world. And it's become, in modern China, it's become actually like Disney almost, because they use it for tourism, and they have the Shaolin Hotel and, the gift shop, and it's a little bit different than traditionally, but it's still a sacred, um, World Cultural Heritage Site. So I was learning Shaolin martial arts, including Tai Chi and other arts, and my instructor taught in a interfaith spiritual way. You didn't have to become Buddhist. So that's why I use the name. It just kind of encompasses everything. I guess you could say my brand, Shaolin Butterfly. So I have Butterfly Reiki and Butterfly Tai Chi, and my teacher symbol was the White Lotus. Now, so that's again another transformational symbol. He's way beyond me, so I use butterfly. It's more earthly, but it's the same idea: transformation and enlightenment, potentially, ultimately.
Yes. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I think so. It was a great experience for me. Again, I grew up. Again, I talk about this some, but all kinds of abuse and poverty, and I mean just craziness. My mother died when I was 20. I became a full-time caregiver, and all kinds of things in my life. And so these arts, I'm healthy and happy, and I'm 63. And what I've been through, most people haven't. Now, some have been through much worse. So I know it's helped me. And that's one reason I want to share it. There's
Right. Yes.
so much, but even with how far these arts have come, there's so much farther to go. I mean, when I first started learning Tai Chi, no one knew what that was. Took me a year to find a teacher, even, and I live in a very populated area. Now most people have kind of heard of it. They think they know what it is. That slow motion stuff, right? Reiki isn't like where Tai Chi was 20 or 30 years ago, where most people don't really know, and when they get really confused when they hear about it, because it's not materialistic. It's not about making money. It's a spiritual art, really, which is, and again, it's a little, so it's making inroads. What I'm saying is there's just so much farther to go. Personally, I think everyone could learn Reiki, like everyone can learn to cook a little. I mean, you can make some microwave popcorn. You can make yourself a little food. You don't have to be a great chef. So Reiki, to me, and I don't mean to put it down, but it's just such a great gift, as you know. I mean, it's right here in our hands everywhere we go, day and night. Why wouldn't someone want to learn? And there's no dogma or religion. I mean, anyone of any faith or no. I've taught every kind of person, from truck drivers to ditch diggers to, I've had monks and priests and nuns, as all kinds of people. So to me, it's something that, like I said, like we all need to eat. Well, here we go. This is a beautiful sustenance. No one's allergic to it either. So yeah.
I like that it does no harm.
It does no harm, right? The only thing there is, again, is that it does actually cause changes. So if someone's on certain, on some meds or something, they may need less meds. Mm-hmm. So I always encourage people, this doesn't take the place of your doctor or anything like that. You still need to go do that. But if you start using this regularly, you may find there's going to be positive changes, which at first could seem negative as we go through cleansing and different issues. But yeah, so it doesn't necessarily, the Reiki itself, cause harm. But like, for instance, if someone's working, I've worked on lockdown psych wards and places like this where the people have very serious issues. It's kind of like when you're working with animals, the animal lets you know what it needs. It's that in tune. It might roll over, and you might have your hands on its back and it wants you to do it on the stomach. It just tells you. So with people like that are very, very ill, we just have to pay attention. If they seem fine and they're calm, good. If they start having a reaction, they could be having a vision or some who knows what. And then we just want to pull back on it. Maybe do some distance Reiki for their highest good without any kind of hands-on, which could, be too much for some people. But in general, right, it's only positive, right?
I agree. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
Not really. I mean, again, I would just thank you again for this opportunity, and keep doing with all you're doing. I look forward to learning more too and keeping in touch. But no, just that I think Reiki, for people who aren't quite sure, I'm coming from a background of martial arts and Tai Chi, and you're coming from your background, and this people, no matter who we are, this is a beautiful art, and it's a wonderful art, and it does not cause harm. And I would very much encourage people, especially people that work in medicine and healthcare, because these types of arts that help us preserve our health, Reiki, and we really need them. Prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? We know this whole expression. So Reiki fits right in with that it helps us to take care of ourselves, and we still may need to go to the doctor and have challenges, but maybe less. My
Right.
teacher, Dr. G, he's from Burma, very advanced practitioner, trained from birth, but his country was destroyed in World War II. Japan leveled the entire country. His family, because they were prominent, they were tortured and killed. And he's been through some crazy circumstances. He's in his 90s. He takes no medicine.
Wow.
He's been tortured. Because he was a prisoner of war, and the things he takes no medicine. He doesn't have any pills. Now he's very advanced, but I myself have been through health issues that they told me I would never recover from, including terminal illness. I'm not supposed to be here right now. And again, the doctors helped me, but I went to Chinese medicine, and right in the hospital then I'm doing Reiki, and more than normal. I had to make some lifestyle changes, and I did. And here I am. So I know for a fact how much this can help people.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just encourage people like me. I was kind of skeptical, but I tried it out, and it was so wonderful. So it's good to be skeptical. Good teachers recommend that. Be skeptical, but try it out.
Absolutely.
Study it. So I would encourage people to give Reiki a chance. Like John Lennon said, give peace a chance. Let's give Reiki a chance. I see you're a John Lennon fan, so I love that. Yeah, I used to carry his picture around on my wall. I was kind of a latter-day hippie back in the day.
My brother absolutely loved the Beatles, and he was learning how to play guitar, so he would play the Beatles all the time. So I
wow. Well, listen, talk about a world-changing band with true cultural icons, and they brought a lot of awareness to Indian and Asian arts through their own involvement.
Mm-hmm.
So no, good for them on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. If you would like to be on the Reiki Realm podcast with Rep Rhonda, just let me know. I would love to arrange a date and time for you to be on here and do exactly what we just did. So I hope that you all have a very blessed day, and thank you for watching.